Sonic was the first game that I played, and it was the only game that I played for a long time, actually, because my friend Ollie only had that one game. And we didn't have a Mega Drive, so until I think it was the following Christmas. I'm not really sure what year that would have been, 94, 93, 94, something like that. Until we had our own Mega Drive. And when we had our Mega Drive, my brother and I were given ours for Christmas the following year. They changed the packing from Sonic the Hedgehog to Sonic 2.
Oh,
So then it was like, oh my God, we've got we've got new Sonic, you know. So then that became the be all and end all for us growing up. And Sonic 2 as a 5 or 6 year old is difficult. It's still
yeah.
difficult now in places, and I never actually finished it as a kid. I got to Death Egg Zone, and I just couldn't.
As a
I,
kid.
yeah, I
Well done.
couldn't. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't beat Robotnik right at the very end.
I've only ever done it with save states, so I've never actually beaten the game properly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad once you know what you're doing, you know, and but even then, you can still be caught out by like a random hitbox being where you didn't expect it to be, or you know, just Robotnik fires his arms off at you or something. So yeah, then you know, played a lot of Sonic 2 over the next sort of like year or so. And yeah, we didn't have a lot of games. We really love Sonic, so we played a lot of Sonic. And my uncle had a SNES, so had very limited experience of playing things like Super Mario, and I remember playing Street Fighter there, which was quite cool. Which was kind of my introduction to fighting games before Tekken. And then my friend Ollie, same Ollie, he got a PS1, and with that he had Tekken 2 and trying to think what else he had, and Crash Bandicoot. But he didn't have a memory card, so again, I used to sort of follow the same trend of like going around his house every day and playing Crash Bandicoot. But we had to note down all of the passwords in the back of the manual. So somewhere out there, this copy of Crash Bandicoot exists with like hundreds of like symbols, because it was all, I don't know if you remember the if you've ever played it or not, but like all of the passwords in Crash Bandicoot are just like triangle, X, circle,
Yeah.
square. Um,
The super
and they get
password.
like
Triangle,
super
triangle, triangle,
passwords.
triangle. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the back of his manual was just like littered in these because he didn't have a memory card. And it was kind of like history repeating, where then like the following Christmas we were lucky enough to get a PlayStation. And but it was quite funny because so my birthday is the 5th of December. Put it in your calendar, Jack. And for my birthday I was given Croc, Legend of the
Oh,
Gobbos.
yes. Right.
Um but that was 20 days before I got my PlayStation.
Oh, right. So you had to
so,
just look at the box. Right.
I used to like look at the box and read the manual like cover to cover, like for 20 days, just like I think I'm getting a PlayStation. Um,
Is that the manual where it talks about the crocodile like having problems with his stomach because he eats something or something like that? So
uh,
the croc one I've got, like, if you honestly like, funny you mentioned croc, because the croc I had the final password in it. Someone had written it, like,
oh wow,
literally.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
so nothing else in it. Like, it wasn't like on the note, because I, for anyone listening that doesn't remember manuals, basically at the back of them, you had that notes page, which I think was probably 4 passwords and stuff like that. But like,
yeah,
someone had written in like the controller screen, they'd written this like in a really bad handwriting thing. I thought, what's that? And I put it in. I just randomly one day decided to put it in the password screen, and I got to the final level of Croc, and I was like, what? That's crazy. But
that's great.
if you read the actual book of Croc and the guidebook, or the manual, it's just someone clearly had a laugh. They were just like, let's talking about all the gobbos, and apparently like he's the most feared gobbo in the world because he had indigestion, and he like eat cheese, and he was like what was it? He's lactose intolerant. No, it's worth a read. It's a trip. It's clearly written
Oh,
by
brilliant,
someone that
yeah, yeah.
got it past whoever. Either the person that was directing the game went, yeah, that'll be all right, or they just went, I'm going to put something in as a joke. It's my last day or something. It's definitely worth reading.
King Rufus the Intolerant, ruler of the Gobbos, was down by the riverbank watching the sunrise. People far and wide had heard of King Rufus the Intolerant and feared him for his name alone. Of course, the Gobbos knew his full name was King Rufus the Lactose Intolerant, and only really feared him after a big bowl of cottage cheese.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I think after 20 days of reading it as a child, 20 days straight of just like going over and over again, I've obviously forgotten it since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll revisit it. I'll check that out. I've got it downstairs, so you know, like
worth having a look.
we've still got like the PS3 setup, so I can play my PS1.
but the super password thing. So I got a story with the super password. So you're talking about Crash Bandicoot. So yeah, obviously that game was designed before. I think it was designed before memory. I don't know the history of PlayStation, but I know that like the memory cards were like really expensive back in the day. This is like another bit of thing. I think I didn't have a memory card for like maybe 6 months after I got a PlayStation. So like passwords were the absolute thing. So I remember like the Hercules PS1 game, which was the first game I bought or got bought for me after
Disney's
Christmas.
action game starring Hercules.
Disney's action game starring Hercules. Yeah, really well. The one that sits really well on your shelf, not the H, it sits on the D. Yeah. And I had like, I remember like my dad drew out the like, because the passwords came on like the Grecian urns. And he drew out really terrible pictures, like, but like I kept it on like a post-it note for ages to know what the next level was going to be. But
that's brilliant.
But the super password in I know it starts triangle, 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 for the final level in Crash Bandicoot. So I don't know, maybe my friend got it from a book or something like that, but we played Crash Bandicoot through, and he knew the super password and everything. It was really cool. But then years later, you know, we rediscovered the games. Like we were into the Game Boy Advance games and stuff like that. And he had this thing where like he was Crash Bandicoot. This guy was like he actually was like a cartoon character. He loved Bugs Bunny, and he was like his humor was just based off of slapstick nonsense. He was obsessed with Bugs Bunny and stuff like that. And he had this thing where we'd like, as sort of 10, 11-year-olds, we'd like, he was Crash Bandicoot, you know what I mean? Like he wanted to. It was bizarre. Not actually, he wasn't actually Crash Bandicoot.
Just lived in jorts.
Yeah, pretty much. He used to like, you know,
spun around a lot,
spin around and like stuff like that. We used to do like film silly things and things like that. But we got really back into the game, and he was really into his like tech and stuff like that. And he had like an emulator of Crash Bandicoot. Look how cool I've got an emulator of it, even though we both owned all the games, so it didn't really mean anything. But like one day we put Crash Bandicoot 1 on. And he was like, "Oh yeah, they've got super." And he sort of like sat down and he opened the password screen. I don't know if you remember, but in Crash Bandicoot 1, the super password, there's not a slot for it. It gives you like a short slot, and as soon as you start typing it in, it gets bigger, and then you know you're typing the super password in. And he went, right, it's triangle, 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 and then like from memory, he'd like, we both were, it's that, and then we just, I couldn't tell you what it is now, but like maybe I've had a controller in front of me, I'd be able to remember, but he remembered it. And I'm like, oh my God, like, because this is like back in the days, like pre-broadband, where like, in order to find this thing out, we'd have to have found the book somewhere. And it was like, oh my God, and we just ended up playing the last level of Crash Bandicoot because he'd remembered it. It's like, how these things just stick in your brain, like.
That and muscle memory, and you know, probably has the do you remember those little yellow cheat books?
Yes.
They used to, you know, it'd always have like some random bit of CGI art on the front cover, and it'd be like the
Lara
cheapest,
Croft,
it'd always be like the cheapest, nastiest paper. But yeah, and half of them wouldn't work.
No. No, that's it. You're someone that wrote, you've written a cheat in, and what I found, because I bought a couple of these recently, because I finally found a do you remember PlayStation Max magazine?
Oh yeah.
There we go. So I had an issue of that from back in 2000 or whatever, 2001, and it had the guidebook on Final Fantasy 9. And like we just talked about before, like writing a guide before the guide's actually out. This guidebook came out before the official guide came out, and it was one I had, and it's really bad. But like I lent it to a friend, and the story is his dog peed on it. Right, that was the story. I think he just wanted to keep it. Right, so I'm like, for years I've been looking for this magazine, and you go into eBay, like PlayStation Max, Final Fantasy 9, I couldn't find it. And the other day I was just going through eBay, I saw it. It was like there's about 4 or 5 different magazines with it. I'm not having it. £6 it cost me.
Oh, amazing.
And I got it. And I got loads of other magazines with like loads of the cheat books with it. And you open them up, they're all the same. Like literally, it's the same, like the same words as well. Like, this is how you get the Secret Spyro demo in Crash Bandicoot 3. Like it's like not even, they haven't even changed the wording. It's like all right, okay. You can imagine like going into a shop and going, 1,001 different cheats for games. It's like, well, you've already owned 600 of them in the last issue you bought, the cheat magazine. It was such a commodity back in the day, cheat books though, weren't they? Like, I don't know, like if you had the same experience as me, where like you'd become the coolest kid in the playground for a day if you knew the cheats for games. I don't know if you had that.
That was never the case.
No,
like never the coolest kid in the playground.
I think I'm just lamenting that I wasn't as well. But no, like I had the cheats for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and I downloaded them off the internet at this point, and I brought them all in, and it was like, what? Like there's a code in that game that gets you the Hydra jet, and I introduced that to everyone, and they were all like these cheats went round everyone, like they lent them to everyone over the next few days. So that I felt like the coolest kid in the playground. I probably wasn't, but
yeah. There was a time. So I used to work in a design office where we had an AO printer, and
right. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, there was a moment in time, 2008 specifically, where we printed off the maps for GTA 4 for like pigeon locations and like this is it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, like printed out the maps like on AO size print paper, and then like took them home, and like they had the little icons, but it was like blown right up. So it was good. They were good, they were PNG files, so they like printed okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like made it so much easier to find those, because they get printed in books or like on the website, and you'd have to like constantly be scrolling in or zooming in and scrolling and trying to find them, instead of just like sitting on the floor with an AO print out all these maps that you could just actually like conveniently tick off. And they got passed around a few of us in the design office, so it's like, oh, I've done all of these now, you can go and find the last few unique stunt jumps, whatever you're looking for. So yeah, that was my cool kid in the playground phase, but it came when later, I was like 21.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Please subscribe to Two Random Words.